Alright, now that we have our monster text at the top, we want to start organizing our layers again. So I'm going to click on my fog layer, hold down my shift key, and go to radial blur long. So with all those layers selected, I'm going to go down to my folder icon at the bottom of my layers panel and click group 1. And let's just title this text. Alright. I'm going to grab bottom text information. Let's move that underneath the text layer and drag it to the bottom of our page. Oops. And I have auto select on, so I'm going to turn that off at the top and drag it down by holding my shift key. Alright, so now I have it at the bottom of my page. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a house image. Alright, so we're going to go up to our menu bar at the top of our screen and we're going to click File, Place Embedded, and we're going to find that house that I gave you. So movie poster house, click Place. Alright, and I'm just going to center this in the space right here. Click check mark. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this text layer and put it right above movie poster house. So it's a little bit higher up, and then I'm going to turn it off. Alright, if you see there's some fog going on throughout the whole page, you want to keep that off. And then I'm going to go to movie poster house, and I'm going to select that layer, and then I'm going to duplicate the house twice. So I'm going to hit Command J. Alright, so I have 2 more houses of that. Another way to duplicate it would be to drag it down to the bottom and let go, and that duplicates it. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the original house layer, just have it as a backup. So I'm going to have that as a backup, and then I'm going to work with the other 2 layers. With the 2 new layers selected, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say rasterize. Right? So I had them both selected and I rasterized it. All that means is I'm taking off this little symbol right here, the smart object symbol, and making it into an editable layer. So I'm going to select my upmost layer, and I'm going to go to my house filter at the top here, and I'm going to go down to stylize, actually to other, and then I'm going to go to high pass. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be sharpening our image, and this is just a way of sharpening it by hand as opposed to using some of the filters that sharpen. And you can do either one, but this one's a nice one. Also, it allows you to do some nice effects in some other ways as well. So I'm just going to drag this to about 8 pixels. So I'm just going to say 8 pixels, and I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go over here to my blend modes, and I'm going to drag this down to overlay. Alright, so now you can see that it sharpens it up a little bit by increasing the contrast on it. Alright, so with my movie poster house layer selected, I'm going to change this to house high pass. Let me change that, HIGH. House high pass. I'm going to select the 2 of them, and I'm going to click on my chain link at the bottom. Alright, this locks my 2 layers together, so if I'm moving them, they both move as a unit. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some contrast to this. So I want you to hit Control U. Or you can go up to Edit and go down to Image. Be on the right layer. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my movie poster house layer, the color one, and I'm going to hit Control U. Right, that brings up my hue saturation, and I'm going to drag my saturation all the way down to 0. Alright, to negative 100. Right, so now I took all the color out of that image, and I still have my sharpen on top of it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use our burn tool to paint over the bottom of the images and the sides where all these trees are to kind of blend it into the background. So I'm going to go over here to my right. I'm going to click on burn tool. I'm going to make sure my my exposure is at around 50%, and I'm going to increase my brush size. I want to have a soft brush, so I'm going to go to soft round, increase my brush size so I have a good amount, actually make it a little bit larger. Remember, your right brackets and your left brackets on your keyboard allow you. We're going to use our burn tool, And so I'm gonna make sure it says shadows right here and the top 50%, and I'm just gonna darken up the areas where the line hits and around the bushes and stuff as well. Right, so just darken this up, and so it blends a little bit better into the background. All right. All right. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to hit Control L. All right, and this brings up our levels, and we're doing this all from our menu items and not the adjustment layers. So if I were to do adjustment layer levels over here, so I click levels, notice that it brings up an actual layer. We don't want to do layers for this. We want to keep our layers kind of sparse. So I'm going to go image and adjustments and levels, or Control L. And what I want to do is I'm going to set this to 17. And then I'm going to change this to 1 and then 255 and click OK. And you can see it darkened up our whole image and it looks a little bit more menacing. Alright, so now we have our house image is blending in nicely. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the sky at the top here. So I'm going to go over here to File, and I'm going to create a new document. And I want my document to be 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels. So I'm going to change this and write 1,000 and 1,000. All right. We can keep our resolution at, I'm going to change it to 300, and I'm going to title this Cloud Brush. And we're not going to save it, but I just want to title it. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to hit our D key, right? That gives us black in the front and white in the back. And we're going to go to Filter. We're going to go down to Render, and we're going to say Clouds. Alright, now I'm going to go over here to my marquees. I'm going to click elliptical marquee. And I'm going to change my feather to 75 pixels. 75 pixels. And I'm gonna just drag out like this in the middle of my page. Alright. So next I'm gonna go to Edit. I'm gonna say Divine Brush Preset. Call it Sample Brush. I'm gonna call it Cloud Brush. And click OK. Alright, so now what I did was I just made a brush from this little selection on the screen. So now I can go back, I can close that. I'm not going to save it, don't save. But I'm going to go back to here, and now I have a brush that I'm going to use to paint in the sky. Alright, so with my background selected, I'm going to click on my mask button here. My house selected, I'm going to click my mask button. And I'm going to lower my opacity, and I'm just going to start fading out some of these areas. Right, and I'm going to change my opacity, change my brush size as I do it, because I don't want it to be too look too generic. So you just have to keep doing this until you get one that you like, how it starts to look how you like it to look. Just make sure you're getting rid of all the solid edges. And like I said, you're going to have to change your opacity different ways. And just paint out some of the sky and the clouds with clouds. Alright, so it looks a little bit more ominous, like it's. And I'm gonna put this in some other areas as well. Alright, so there we have our spooky house, and we can turn back on our text layer at the top, and now we have a true monster poster. I'm gonna actually go back into text. Alright, so I'm gonna go to my fog layer. I'm gonna add a mask to it because I don't want it to go all the way down, and I'm just gonna take out some of the fog. So go back to my soft round brush, make sure that I have a good size. I'm just going to paint out where I think it was a little bit too much. I got it at 25%. So just in that middle area, and if you look, it's just right there, but I kept it down on the text at the bottom because I think it looks nice.
Mr. Thorpe.
Alright, so last thing to do, if you want to change your text, your monster text, and I do want to change my text. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to go down here, my original layer. So I'm going to click on this, and I have my text in there, and now I'm going to just select it, and I'm going to title it Barren house. Alright, barren house. And I'm gonna click check mark. So once I save this, I can go back to my original file, and now it says barren house, right? So it's pretty cool, and I can rotate it if I want to rotate it as a group. So I'm gonna click on my text, my folder, hit transform, and I'm just gonna rotate a little bit. Oh, I'm rotating the bottom as well. Oh no, I'm good. So rotating a little bit, and then it should render in back the clouds how they were. So if you didn't want it to be rotated, you could. So barren house, and then I have my scary movie poster stuff at the bottom. Last thing I'm gonna add is another text box. So I'm gonna click on my fog layer, change my text to white. I'm still using green fuzz. You don't have to use green fuzz, but I'm just gonna click down here, and I'm gonna lower this size. I'm gonna say subtext at the bottom. Once you arrive, you never leave. Alright, so once you arrive, you never leave. And I'm just gonna reduce the size so that it sits at the bottom. Alright, and there I have my barren text at the bottom. So I have a scary movie poster.